Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Startup Journey. Today, I have with me Lani Gahiji, the CEO and founder of Loving the Journey. Loving the Journey is a lifestyle brand and shop for Black women, WOMXN, that are doing the intentional work to love the lives they live, personally and spiritually. She is on a mission to empower 1 million Black women around the world to love themselves fully plus out loud. She is also a public speaker. She is very active on Instagram. So I let us ask her journey. So welcome, Lani. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So tell us about you. Like, how did this foundation started, and how what were you doing? Tell us your journey, basically from the beginning.
Okay, yeah. So I'm Lani. I'm originally from Chicago. I'm living now in Houston. I'm a spiritual coach, tarot reader, and a healer. And my business began after I got my master's degree, and I couldn't really find a job in my field. My undergrad degree was in entrepreneurship, so I knew eventually I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just didn't think it was going to happen right out of grad school. So I kind of fell into it because I didn't have anything else to do because I couldn't find a job. I couldn't find a job that was in my field, nor a job that I was like a cashier, anything. So I really just had a lot of free time to think, and that's when my spiritual awakening began. And I started my own healing and spiritual development journey. And from doing that with myself, that's when I created Loving the Journey, a business talking about loving the journey you're on, staying mindful, staying present, and embracing what comes in the journey instead of being focused on the destination. So that's my business. And, it's pivoted a little bit to have more of a focus on Black women. That's what my coaching is. I spiritually coach Black women. I have an online healing community for dedicated to Black women just to help us heal together because I know the value of community when you're healing. For me, in my own healing journey, it was a struggle to do it by myself. So that's why I created a community for all of these things.
So was it like you already know this? You already knew this field, or how did this idea came into your mind?
It started off as I started to ask myself, okay, what are my gifts? So I knew I had the gift of gab, like I can talk. So like I was a public speaker in college, public speaker in grad school. I went to conferences, did public speaking. So that's what I was focused on primarily initially. And then it moved into coaching because I realized, okay, I was the advice person, but then I was like, okay, I want to get certified in coaching. I'm still not a certified coach, but I coach. So I've been an organization coach. I've been a spiritual coach, life coach, all of that. So coaching is something that I'm just generally good at. I'm good at words. I'm good at guiding people, and I believe like it is one of my gifts to coach people. So it kind of just fell in my lap, and I realized that it's a gift that I have.
Great. So tell us how did you thought that okay, this is what I want to do. Like I know that you wanted to get into public speaking, but then how did you got the initial success and then decided okay, let me do this more.
Wait, one more time. I didn't hear the last part of it.
How did you got the initial clients or initial success, or how did you made yourself visible in the world? So
Yeah. It was first. It was a lot of talking to nobody. So I was really just like plugging myself on my Facebook, on my Instagram, on Twitter. I was really just. I started with like my family and my friends. I would tell them, okay, this is what I'm doing. Can you support me and share this? And I was doing videos, so things like that. So it was really a lot of just like selling myself. And eventually, I started getting coaching from other bigger name coaches, and I hired a coach of my own. So like it was kind of like learning along the way. So learning along the journey. So kind of picking up what I knew along the way. And then, getting just taking classes, free classes, paid classes, all of this stuff to learn as much as I could because I felt like that's what I was supposed to be doing.
I see. So, tell me about like why what has kept you going in this field for some time? Like how long you have been doing this, and do you sometimes feel like going back to a stable job, or like tell us
Yeah.
more on this.
Yeah. So I've been an entrepreneur since September of 2019. So that's when I launched my business. And so it's 2021 now, so about a little over a year and a half, sort of. And Yeah, so what keeps me going is like knowing what my mission is. So it's a lot of what I tell my clients, like in regular life, you need to have a strong why because life is gonna knock you down. You're gonna want to quit, you're gonna want to give up and say, like, screw that. So for me, I had to really like bog down on what my mission is. So me knowing that my mission is to empower other black women to live freely, to live liberated, to live in alignment with what they want to do versus what they feel like they have to do, that's what motivates me to keep going because I know that there's tremendous healing needed for my community and like generations back and generations forward. So that's the work that's kind of pushing me forward. And I have my low moments too. I'm about to actually get a second job to like add on more income because just saving money. I'm still a new entrepreneur. I'm not even 2 years in yet, so I definitely am getting another job, but it's not going to replace my business in any way. So it's more so about being creative and how I can tie in another job with my business until I can just, sustain myself off my business.
I see, I see.
Yeah.
So, how much of it is like totally based on social media, and how much is it like you do in-person thing, or are you totally dependent on the social media?
Right now it's a little bit of both. I have an email list, so I've been nurturing my email list and getting in contact with those people. Because I take social media breaks now probably every few months. So I'm trying to basically move away from depending on social media because if social media were to go away, it would be really hard, to keep my business afloat. Although I have a website and all that good stuff, but it's just really good to start with social media because that's where a lot of people are in general. Like that's where everybody is. So utilizing that tool, but also not like being completely dependent on it. So I have other ways. I have in-person services as well, and I'm building my network here in Texas. So it's working out. I'm getting it together.
Great. Tell us about the spiritual coaching part of it, because not everyone can get into it. What kind of training did you got through initially, or what kind of reading or self-learning that you did to be able to be in a position to do it as a full-time job, like full-time business?
Yeah. So I hired my own coach to learn how to be a coach. So I had that under my belt. I'm not again. I say I'm not certified, but I've taken courses, I've taken workshops, free and paid, just to sort of get more knowledge of one how to serve those that I'm meant to serve, right? And that work has come from me doing work on myself. So the more I worked on myself, the more I've learned who can resonate with me, what my story is, and like speaking directly to those people. So it's more so been just my spiritual journey that has led me to be a coach, and everything that I've done up until this point. Like literally, my business called Loving the Journey is about remembering that you're learning stuff along the way, and everything doesn't have to make sense. So although I have 2 degrees, one of the degrees I don't technically use, but the things that I learned while I was in grad school, I'm applying those things in my business now. So everything that I've learned from childhood to now is being used to help me to serve my clients, whether it's a tarot client, whether it's a spiritual coaching client. But overall, like I do the work to make sure that I'm serving as much as I can to those people that are needing my services.
Yeah, that's a great point that you brought about, like serving the people while doing the same thing as as a skill, and like serving the people. And so tell me more on that, like um, how do you feel like when you are um, making somebody's life better through your work? And I'm sure it's a big inspiration to that drives you, but tell us more about that journey actually.
Yes, it's very fulfilling. Like I said, my business is technically just taken off. I have now 4 spiritual coaching clients, and this time last year I had no clients. So it's growing, and it definitely like when my clients tell me like, "Oh, I learned this from you," or you taught me this," and I was like, I'm kind of like getting used to the fact that I'm a coach and that I'm a teacher. So it's definitely an adjustment, but it feels really good. It feels really good to be living in my purpose, to be doing what I feel like I'm called to do, to be doing what I know I came here to do. So it feels like I'm on the right journey and it feels aligned. Like that's the best word I have for it. It feels aligned.
Great. So there are so many people who have skills right now, and but they don't know where to start. You have already broken that shell and made a name for yourself. What advice would you like to give them? who have not yet started.
Yes. I actually was just having this conversation with a tarot client just before I got on this call. And what I started with for me was, what do I want to do? So I feel like a lot of us get caught up in the, okay, this is what I feel like I have to do. This is what I need to do. What makes the most sense to do next? And a lot of the time, especially for me, like growing spiritually, it's about trusting my intuition and trusting myself. So my spirit will tell me what I need to be doing next. You'll get an intuitive nudge. You'll get a random idea, or it'll feel like a random idea, or you had a feeling about something. So all of that is kind of what guides me to help me to grow my business, to get in touch with myself, and to serve other people. So yeah, I hope I answered your question. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. So I totally thank you for that response. I was more interested, like, how did you started to show up in front of people? Go out and and tell the world that this is your skill and hire me, or how I'm sure it takes a different mindset to go out and project yourself to the world.
Yeah. At first, it was about me getting sure about literally what I wanted to do, right? So when I first started, I was calling myself a life coach, and I had no certification. I hadn't taken a course. I hadn't done anything. I was just like, this is the thing I want to do. And it took a lot of me like moving despite the fear, because I think a lot of people say like, okay, the fear, you got to get rid of the fear, but fear will always be there. You're always gonna get a little scared. You're always gonna get a little anxious about something that's different that you've never done before. So for me, I think what it was like, I had to play best case scenario, worst case scenario. So best case scenario, I put myself out there, my business takes off, I get clients. Worst case scenario, I don't, and now I know what to do next. I now know that didn't work. So I really just had to think about, okay, what's the worst that can happen, and can I overcome that? Yeah. So now I know I can pretty much do whatever I want to do, because I think a lot of the time we just think like, well, I don't know what could possibly happen, but think about worst case scenario. Ask yourself, what is the worst thing that I think could happen? And if you think you can overcome that, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, that's a very uh, like experienced mindset. Great. Um, tell us, like, how do you? I'm sure you go through days where you feel like, okay, I'm going nowhere, and you self doubt yourself. What is the self talk you do to yourself during that time?
When I'm doubting myself, I really like to think about the times where I've overcome like so much adversity. Because I think a lot of the time for me, when I'm struggling, I feel like, well, I'll never get through this. I've never faced anything this hard. I don't know how I'm going to get through. And then I just like to think back to the times where I felt that before, because we've all had those moments where you're like, I have no idea how I'm going to figure this out. I don't have the money for it. I don't have the tools for it. I don't have whatever. And I really just like to remind myself that, like, okay, I've gotten through not necessarily worse, but I've gotten through something difficult before. I've gotten through something that I thought was going to take me down before. So what's stopping me now? Just kind of like reminding myself of the strength that I already have. And, I also call on my ancestors. I know that I am only here because they were here. And their power, their blood, their DNA is within me. And if they made it through some of the stuff that they made it through, I know I can make it through anything. So I kind of just like let myself be powered up by that, by spirit, by God, and knowing that I'm not alone, basically. Because I think what a lot of people struggle with is feeling like they're the only ones doing this by themselves. So when you remember that you have support, within yourself, your own spirit, and you have support spiritually, like in the spiritual realm. That's a personal belief, but like whatever, like knowing that you're supported regardless is kind of like what helps me to keep going.
Great. Finally, tell us about the services that you offer and how clients can reach out to you, and anything about your skills. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yes. So, like I said, I'm a spiritual coach. I'm a tarot reader and a healer. So, if you're in Texas, you can take advantage of my in-person service, which I only have one in-person service. Well, two, I guess. Tarot readings, as well as a divine energy reset, where I like cleanse your energy using sage, using crystals, and things like that. So, utilizing all the spiritual tools that I have to cleanse and reset the energy and the chakras. And then my virtual services are spiritual coaching. Those are only for, Black women. I specifically coach Black women. Tarot readings are open to everyone. And then, Yeah, I have an online shop. I have things that I sell. So like Loving the Journey. I have t-shirts, I have hoodies, I have mugs, all of that stuff. It can be found on my website. It's lovingthejourney.com. It's with two G's and two Y's. So loving two G's, the journey two Y's.com. And everything is there. So that's where you can find me. And if you're on Instagram, you can find me at loving the journey two G's two Y's as well. And as you said, that's where I'm most active. So yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, Lani. We wish you all the best, and your knowing your story will definitely inspire many, I'm sure.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks. Thanks again.